Okay, here we go. Worst date ever. Worst date I've ever been on in my entire life.
Okay, we have to talk about this. From the first second she said, worst date ever, I knew we were in for a wild ride. But this is a whole new level of chaos.
I was set up by a friend with this guy that she had known for a long time. And he was a great guy, well known in the community, had a great job, had kids. He was divorced and was just fun and just a good guy. And everybody liked him and had a great personality. So saw pictures of him and he was looking good. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So anyway, she, gets us fixed up. We exchange numbers. He calls me.
All right, so she's set up by a friend. You'd think, okay, this has to be safe, right? Wrong. The way she builds him up, great job, well known, everyone loves him. I was already suspicious. Like when someone sounds this perfect, there's always a catch. Spoiler alert, there was a whole lot of catches.
And he says, hey, I've got this place. Do you want to go have a bonfire and, do some four-wheelers and just have a good day? That would be so much fun just to get to know each other. I can make steaks and I'm famous for my tableside Caesar salad. And he goes, and do you like wine? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love wine. He goes, well, my favorite wine is Joseph Phelps Insignia. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite wine. So I'm like, he goes, oh my gosh, that'd be great. I'll have a bottle. And you know what, we'll just do that. It'll be fun. We'll get to know. And, we were both just really excited. And we had talked on the phone for, oh my gosh, probably that whole day before that we had the date. And I was like, oh my God, this guy sounds great. So here we go, fast forward. So he shows up at my house to pick me up, comes to the door, and I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, this is not the guy. Did not look like the pictures. He looked like he had just had a few rough years and did not look like himself. And
y'all, she opens the door and bam, it's not even the same man. The catfish strikes again. At this point, I'd be like, nope, thanks for stopping by. But she gave him the benefit of the doubt. Girl, you're better than me.
I'm like, okay, that's okay. Lots of things have changed, could change with someone. Don't judge. So we go out to get into the car. And when we go out to get in the car, he opens the door and, okay, let me just take you back. I was so excited about this date. I had my daughter, she did my hair, she did my makeup. I was looking good. And anyway, I had on this like really cute little, pair of jeans and some boots and just, kind of looking like farm used to ride a four-wheeler and all this stuff. Had on a vest that was cream and, all this stuff. And I get in there, I open the car door and there's nowhere to sit. It's trash all over the car. And I'm like, oh my God, it was an SUV. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I thought, okay, just don't judge, because this is his farm trucks.
Wait. Not only does this man not look like his pictures, but his SUV is a rolling dumpster. Imagine showing up for your first date, makeup flawless, outfit on point, and you have to shove trash just to sit down. The audacity.
So we get in the farm truck and we're starting down the road and we get in. And I'm like, okay, so we just shove this stuff over and I'll get myself in. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, okay, this is okay. But the whole time we're in there, the phone's ringing, and he's getting texts. He's just hitting, deny, or decline, whatever you want to call it. So then we're talking and he seems very nice and we're just, he's singing some songs and then, we're just having, I thought, okay, this is fun, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just being me, bubbly, da-da-da-da-da. Then all of a sudden he reaches down in the side of the car and he brings out this bottle and he goes, hey, I don't know where that come from. Would you like some Fireball? And I'm like, what? No, I don't want any Fireball. I'm like, oh my God, who drinks Fireball in their 60s? And so anyway, I'm like, no. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that is the cinnamon that was on his breath. Because when he met me, he gave me a hug and I smelled the cinnamon. I thought it was cinnamon candy.
Stop it right now. He pulled out a bottle of Fireball. Sir, it is not 2014. And who drinks Fireball in their 60s? The cinnamon smell on his breath? I thought it was candy too, but no. It's pure chaos in liquid form.
So anyway, so we go on up there and then we get up to this place that he said is this beautiful 3-bedroom home. And he said, if it gets late and you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. He goes, I've got a room, all for you, no pressure, don't feel anything. It's not that kind of night. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And I checked with my friend and I said, do you think this will be okay? And she goes, oh my God, you know what? I haven't seen him for a while, but yes, he's a good guy. We're going to call him Dan. And he said, oh, you know what? Dan's a great guy. And I think you're going to have a good time. And you know what? I would trust him with my mother. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, we get up there and I get in and I pull in. It's like Deliverance Country and it is like a shack that looks like the roof is falling down and the paint's all chipped off the house and you had to like hit the door to even get in the house. I'm like, oh my God. So I get in there. There's cats and dogs running around everywhere and I'm like, oh no. So he goes, do you want a drink? And I'm like, no, thank you. I'll have some water.
Wait a second. He promised her a beautiful 3-bedroom home and she pulls up to, the set of Deliverance? Roof falling apart, chipped paint, and dogs and cats everywhere. Y'all, she's braver than me because I would have called an Uber right there. And here it is, the cherry on top. The ex-girlfriend, Mindy, who was not over him and calling nonstop, threatening to pull up and fight. Sir, why are you out here dating when you clearly have unfinished business?
So then he says, okay, let's go out and go over and do the bonfire and ride the four-wheelers. Well, at that point, I thought, I'm not getting on a four-wheeler with you because I just don't want to do it. I just want to hurry up and get this dinner over with and get back home. So then we are sitting there and we're getting more phone calls as we're going over to the other house, to the farmhouse where he was going to do the bonfire. So we get there and, he had these lights set up and I thought, okay, that's really pretty. And then he had a big thing to do the bonfire and I thought, okay, but was not going to do the four-wheeler. So I thought, okay, we'll just sit down here and talk, play some music. It'll be good. So before we could even, as soon as he just turned on the lights and we sat down at these picnic tables and he just starts talking like the phone's ringing and he goes, I got to tell you, that's my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend. She's calling. She won't leave me alone. She's crazy. Her husband passed away a few years ago and they think that she had something to do with it. And I'm like, oh my God, scared the crap out of me. I'm like, oh, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of here? What am I going to do? So he is just talking to her on the phone. I'm like, if you have to take it, just take the phone call. And I thought, okay, I've got to figure out how to get out of here. So it's getting late. He doesn't even start the bonfire. And I'm like, I've been a little bit hungry. And he goes, oh gosh, what kind of host am I? Let me get you over to the house and I'll make this dinner. I'm like, okay, that sounds fine because it's getting a little chilly outside. So we get back over to the house and I'm like, oh my God, I just got to get out of here, So he starts talking and then he starts to cook these steaks and he makes these steaks and he starts to bring it over to me. And he does not a table-side Caesar salad like he said he did. It was a bag. He just rips open the bag, he throws the salad in there and he brings the steak over and he sets it down and he takes a bite of it, of his, and he goes, oh my God, these steaks are ruined. And before I knew it, he reaches over in front of me and grabs that steak and he goes to the door and he opens up the door and just throws it out to cats and dogs. And I'm like, oh my God.
I can't. I literally cannot. He rips open a bag salad and cooks steaks only to throw them to the animals because they're too rare. This man is out here auditioning for the worst host in history.
So in the meantime, his phone's ringing, and I said, you can please just answer it. So he answers the phone, and we're going to call her Mindy. And he goes, Mindy, I'm on a date. Leave me alone. I'm on a date. And I heard her, and she's like, you better tell her to get out of there. You had plans with me. I am 10 minutes from your house, and I'm going to get over there, and I'm going to kick her, you know what? And I'm like, oh my God. So all of a sudden he jumps up and he starts shutting all the curtains. He's running around the house shutting all the curtains. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here? My heart was beating fast. I was scared to death. And all I could see was just me never getting home and being on Dateline and my kids finding me or not finding me. And so he runs outside. He goes, gotta go out there and get that spare key because she broke in my house before and she threw all my stuff outside. She's crazy. So he gets back in the house and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable here. I feel like you have some things that you need to get straightened out with Mindy. And I would appreciate it if you could just take me home. I just really don't feel right and I would just really like to go home.
This is where it officially turns into a Dateline episode. Curtains shut, him running outside for a spare key, and her threatening to follow them home. At this point, I'd be dialing 911 under the
So he's like, all right, but let's hurry up and get out here before she gets here. And I'm like, oh God. So we're running out to the car. He's grabbing all this stuff. And then we get in the car. And when we get out the car, it's dark now. And he goes, oh, I've only got one headlight. And I'm like, oh my God, but that's okay. Maybe the police will pull us over and the police can take me home. And then I looked and the side mirror had fallen off the car when we got there. And I'm like, oh dear God, it's cold. It's 38 degrees. There's no heat in the car. I am freezing to death, scared to death, and just sitting there. And the drive was like over an hour drive to get home. And the whole time she's calling. She goes, I'm right behind you. I'm pulling in your house. And then he goes, I'm so sorry. He goes, do you think that we can have another date? And I'm like, what? Another date? No. I think that you've got some things that you need to get straightened out. He goes, oh, no. He goes, she's just crazy and I'm going to get a restraining order and then it'll be okay. And I'm like, no, I really think that you need to get your life straightened out. And he goes, well, do you have $5 I could borrow? I'm like, $5 that you could borrow? He goes, yeah, I don't have any cash and I need gas. And I'm like, oh my God.
Stop it. Not only is his life in shambles, but he doesn't even have $5 for gas. The audacity to ask after all this madness. I'm crying. Girl, you deserve a refund for your...
So anyway, the moral of the story is I finally got home. I got home safely. He kept calling me after that, apologizing and wanted to see me again. I said no. But the whole thing is you never know what you're going to get, even when a friend sets you up. Guys, this was a friend that set me up, but she had come to find out she had not seen him in a couple of years. He had moved into another state or in a different area in the state, and she just hadn't seen him. And I guess his life has just went kaput. But I want nothing to do with that. It was nothing what I had anticipated. I was scared to death. I felt like I was going to die because that girl was crazy. You should have heard her voice, and it was just constant calling, and she was threatening. And anyway, I'm just thankful that I got home.
This poor woman just wanted some wine and a nice night out. Instead, she got a disaster, a crazy ex, and a ride home in a car that was literally falling apart. If this isn't a cautionary tale about blind dates, I don't know what is. Moral of the story? Always ask your friends, when was the last time you saw this person? And if someone offers you Fireball on a first date, run. And honestly, if my mom ever had to start dating again, you better believe I'd be helping her prep her SayScape in advance. No one deserves to sit through disasters like this, no matter their age. With rescue calls and smooth escape plans, SayScape is the ultimate backup for dates gone wrong. Let me know your worst date stories in the comments. I need to know it's not just